Welcome to Elevate Social Circle. I'm really excited for you. In this video, we're going to discuss some of the key concepts that go into creating a social circle. We're going to show you how to build an elite lifestyle using social circles. We're going to cover what a social circle is. We're going to discuss what can be accomplished with them. We're going to go over how I got started, a bit of my origins, as well as some of the key achievements of some of the clients that I've worked with over the years. Why do I do this? It's an important question to understand the future of social circle and where I see the world going. We're also going to discuss some of the basics of how you actually implement the building of a social circle. So we're going to cover foundations and conversations, which is going to be how to start to connect with people in a better way and in a natural way that feels good to meet new people, and where can you meet them. Then we're going to discuss container events and how to build and structure a regular, reoccurring event which allows you to have a social life of your own and not just be piggybacking onto the social lives of other people, hoping the phone will ring. So, what is a social circle? Well, a social circle is simply a group of interconnected people. You have connection. Humans are social creatures. And so a social circle is sort of like a group of people doing life together. And it can serve a whole bunch of different purposes, really whatever your goals are for your social circle. I don't want to get too deep into conspiracy theories here, but this is information which was known to a lot of people in the past. There's been books written about this in Rome and in Babylon, places like this. And for some reason, it's kind of hidden from us today. Now, this is also what the most successful, elite, wealthiest people in the world use to connect with each other and to build businesses and to find each other. But for some reason, it's been, hidden from the rest of us. This is pretty esoteric stuff. It's a pretty misunderstood concept, but we're going to break it down for you right now. Social circles are the origins, for example, of many large companies today. Companies like NVIDIA graphics cards started because a group of three guys thought that video games would become more popular in the future, and so they got together and started a graphics cards company. Tesla started because a group of engineers wanted to bring electric cars to us regular folks and not compromise on the fun or performance or cool factor. So all of these organizations, all of these companies, even Apple, for example, started because Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak wanted to bring personal computing into the home environment. Ford Motor Company started because Henry Ford wanted to build cars. He didn't have the money to do it or the full expertise, and so he partnered with the Dodge brothers. They invested and they also became part of his board of directors, and they helped his company convert an old factory and get off the ground. So the idea that we are alone and that humans are best alone and that we need to just put our heads down and hustle in life, it's kind of a lie. And I think it's actually a pernicious lie that's designed to keep you back. All of the best things in life and all of the most powerful results come from your ability to connect socially with other people. And so again, we're going to break that down for you today. Social circles, what can they do? Well, they generally work in sort of this interconnected way with three pieces. So you have access and assistance, which is your ability to go to places, have mentorship, get to exclusive locations, things like this. We also have the world of high value men and women. And then we have your social circle. And so social circles allow you to interact into these different spheres where you can connect with high value men and women who get you access or mentorship or leadership from their expertise in life. You also could get access to somewhere, and that place introduces you to better people. If you are, for example, trying to meet a girlfriend or a wife, having a good social circle that gets you access to exclusive environments where the best women are hanging out, the most attractive with the best personalities, it's sort of this constant ball that, and that's why we use the word elevate in this program, is that the whole thing starts to elevate together. Now, I don't want you to think of this as pick up babes to get laid. If your North Star is women, you're going to find that life doesn't really work as well for you. Your North Star has to be on some other purpose. It's also not just hocus pocus law of attraction stuff. I think that meditation can be important, but it's important to do the work. It's important to take action. That's kind of what seems to get us the best results in life. This is also not weasel your way into rich guys' lives to get opportunities or to try to suck juice out of their rich guy lives. So I want to quickly go over some of the testimonials and client results that we've had. I'm not going to go too in depth here. If you want more on this, you can talk to me on the call. You can ask about these guys. All very interesting people as I got to know them throughout the time they've been in the program with me. So this is John. I love his case just because of how far he's come. John was, I believe, 35 or 36 years old when he joined the program. He had never had a girlfriend. He had no friends outside of his immediate family. That's tough. Humans, again, are social creatures, and to not have any friends is very difficult to live life. And as a result of that as well, he was just living day to day, going to his job at an Amazon warehouse. He wasn't really doing anything special with his life, and time was ticking by for him. This is a photo of him where he finally mustered up the courage to reward himself with a vacation down to the Florida Keys. He went totally alone. And it wasn't that exciting of a trip. He had a nice time, but it wasn't social. And John was a deeply social person that yearned for that social connection. Well, this is the new John. This is a little while later where he has his birthday party here on the left, where he took over a bar where he hosts trivia nights. And this was his birthday. He had a great time a year later. Look at all the people that he's got as friends. All different interesting people. He's talked to me about all different ones of them. They're interesting people. They've got things going on. They're inspiring. They've encouraged him to go back to school, to get a degree, and to change his trajectory in life. And so it's never too late. This guy's 36 years old, 37 now, I believe, and he's really made a big difference for himself. He had never had a girlfriend. Now he's had a girlfriend, and he's going to baseball games. He's doing fun things. He's getting out into nature with people that are not just he's chasing around, but that are also calling him and saying, hey, what are we doing this weekend? This is Rob. Rob was a natural, and he was very, very social. He's a great conversationalist, really interesting guy. He's traveled all over the world, but he had got into a really toxic relationship, and it had really knocked him down. And when that relationship ended, he lost a lot of his friends because his friends sort of sided with his ex-girlfriend. And he had a really tough relationship with a controlling mother that really beat him down and things like this. So Rob also really struggled with style and displaying himself and putting his best foot forward with new interactions with new people. He could be social with an existing group, but this here is his birthday party again. I don't know, we've got 2 birthday parties in a row here. And I actually got invited to this birthday party. You can see me there at the back between the 2 doorways there. And a lot of these people I talked to, they're all interesting, social, positive people. They acted as a support network for Rob when he's had tough times since his breakup. This on the right here was his very first container event. That was in the middle of a lockdown in Canada. And if you recall, I know we're trying to put it all out of our minds, but if you remember, you couldn't have anyone over to your house. And so Rob managed to connect with some people during that time, which was so difficult, using some really powerful systems, which we teach. Jonathan, he moved to a new city. Now, there's sort of some archetypes you're going to notice here. So we've got kind of like John and Rob are kind of like I guess John is sort of the late bloomer type. Rob is sort of the guy who got knocked down a little bit. Both of those guys are sort of the nerdy types. Jonathan is also a bit of a nerdy type, but his biggest problem was that he had moved to a new city. He had moved to Orlando, and he really struggled to connect with new people and to have a good social life. And so we laid out a map in front of him of how to do that, and he was able to connect with better people through his church environment, through a bunch of new hobbies and interests, and then he's able to start to host his own container event and plan fun events. I really loved most of all to see with Jonathan how he started off saying like, oh, I would love to have a girlfriend, or I'd love to have a couple friends. But as he started to equip himself with better knowledge, his goals also elevated. He treated himself to a Tesla because he's making more money with his career, because he's moving up higher through his engineering firm, because of the connections with his business lunch, for example, that he's hosting now. He's making better connections. He's also saying, in my lifestyle, I don't want to just go for a hike. I want to go, and now he's saying, I want to go and organize a trip to Formula One this year. And he's got guys that can afford that, and they want to do that with him. And the whole thing is just much more interesting of a life to have than I want to go for hikes. And there's nothing wrong with that. Being in nature and outdoors is important, but you have to raise your hopes. You have to raise your expectations, especially when you start to get a better strategy for being. I wanted to add Amgad in here because he's a good example, but I can't talk too much about him just because he's a very private guy. Amgad is an accountant in New York City. He makes a lot of money. He's very, very wealthy, but he was kind of like the friendless rich guy. And so here we've got a couple photos that he sent me of his friends group that has started to develop. And the biggest problem for Amgad was that he was throwing money around in New York City to try to get people to like him. And he didn't really feel comfortable with the type of people that he was attracting. He wanted people that were on his level, that were also wanting to be friends with him, not just for money, but for deeper reasons and for reasons of virtue, we'll say. Ross is a great example because his goals were really a lot more around business and lifestyle, not so much around well, he was trying to get a girlfriend as well, but he had a really interesting story because he struggled to be himself. He really struggled to say what he wanted. He was successful in his career, but for example, he wanted to launch a business, but he had just been kind of spinning his wheels on it forever. He didn't really feel like he was ready or that was the best thing for him to be doing at that time. So we worked together. We helped him in a lot of different ways. And the new Ross now runs a business. He's launched it. He has the confidence to do that. He has the confidence to say, what does he want from this world? This is on the left here. We've got a photo. That was his very first container event. Since then, it's continued to grow. And he said, I love this quote here. He says, I asked him for a testimonial, and he said that before the program, I felt like my social and girlfriend goals were somehow out of reach, and each year seemed the same. The routine is killer. That kills us. But with the social life I'm now building, I can see my options expanding with every passing week. The program was invaluable. It's so cool to see someone saying that their options are expanding. We have this thing in life where we get into this little box, we get into our comfort zone, and we may desire something a little bit higher for ourselves, but it's like we don't know how to get there. We see the path that maybe other people are on or that we wish we could have for ourselves, but we're not sure, like, how do I even get there? And so putting a blueprint in front of yourself to start to achieve those goals can be really invaluable. So I tell you all this as well to kind of give you a tool belt of sorts. I want to give you a manual for socializing. So many of us were never taught this by our parents or by society. And humans are fundamentally social creatures at the very core of us. Even people who are introverted or extroverted, we want human connection. It just depends on the style or the manner in which we want it. So I share this with you to elevate your thinking of what is possible, okay? I want you to understand that if one person can do it, then you can do it. If one guy can make a change in his life and can accelerate his learning through coaching, for example, then you can do it too. There's fundamentally no difference between this group of guys and you. But what is the difference that makes for these results? Why do I have the results that I have in my life? And why do my clients have the results that they have in life? Well, your life is the result of the choices you make. So when you hear the kind of statement like that, how does that make you feel? Do you accept this as true? Do you find this a positive thing to think about? Or is this scary for you? If it's scary, that kind of means that you feel that you are a special victim of life, that for some reason the deck has been stacked up against you more so than someone else. Or you see that as empowering and you understand that we are able to make choices, and if we make different choices, we will get different outcomes in life. All right. So the question becomes, what kind of choices lead to success and which lead to failure and frustration? Well, the first thing that sets us apart from everyone else is that we make decisions from a place of vision rather than a place of fear. So what do these two things look like? Well, a person who makes choices from a place of fear makes choices based on temperature checking their feelings to see if they're comfortable right now with this. Oh, I need to think about everything. I need to analyze and consider, how does my heart feel about this? Well, if you are waiting for the perfect moment to arrive for you to make changes in your life, it's simply never going to arrive. It will not arrive for you. And you will continue year after year in the same frustrated average position. And that's a fact. The loser mindset is one that says, I need to think about it more. I need to try to struggle on my own more first. Or I know I need to do this, but not right now. The timing isn't quite perfect. But is a drug addict going to kick the drugs by waiting until he's comfortable? Or is an overweight person going to start losing weight by waiting for a perfect moment when they're feeling inspired and when they're feeling comfortable with losing the weight? No, they're simply not. And so I have the outcomes that I have today, and my clients have the outcomes that they have today because we make choices from a place of vision. I have a vision, a very specific vision of my future. And all of my clients, as part of the program, get around and consider what are their visions of the future. And we'll discuss in a moment what that looks like and how to do that. But I put myself in the best possible situation by making decisions that push me into the areas that I previously feared. If I'm afraid of socializing, then I find someone who can help me do that. I'm working on downloading their mental models and understanding what choices they make to get the results that they have. The second thing is that we understand the purpose of coaching. When you go to university or college, what are you trying to do? You are trying to get around a group of experts, if you're trying to get an engineering degree, let's say, and understand and download the mental models that they have that allow them to make decisions that get them the results that they have. So for example, when I got into motorcycle racing, I didn't just go to I actually did. At first, I went to the racetrack and I spent a year struggling on my own, trying to learn how to race motorcycles faster. And I didn't really improve very much. I tried to watch videos on YouTube and talk to other riders, things like this, but I didn't try to find a coach. And after the first year, I said, you know what, I'm not really progressing. I need to find a coach. And so I went and I found the best coach that I could find, and I paid him, and I paid him to teach me, and I met with him constantly every week. And I improved so much more having access to that coach who could see my mistakes, who could see what I was doing wrong, and could give me a better way of being for that sport. And the biggest problem here is that we have this model here at the bottom, be, do, have. You need to become the type of person that can do the actions to have a certain result. This is where James Clear from Atomic Habits, for example, talks about the concepts of identity. Identity, if you're a smoker and you're trying to quit, your identity is still wrapped up in you as a smoker. You need to change your identity so that you are now not a smoker and you are simply taking the actions of a person who is not a smoker. And so it's difficult, though, to change your identity when you have all of this evidence of a certain behavior. So how do you change the identity and the behaviors? You get someone to come and tell you what behaviors to do, and it feeds back both ways. You start to become the type of person that does those behaviors, and you start to get results, which then feeds back into the being half of this, or third of this, so that you start to have evidence that you're the type of person that is social. You're the type of person that is a socialite. And then your actions in the future are based on this new identity. And then you're not an antisocial guy trying to be social. You're just a social person acting out in consistent ways with your identity that you have. So again, the world is sort of falling apart around us if we don't actively grow it. This is the law of entropy, and this is part of thermodynamics. If you're not actively growing, and if you're not actively doing things, then things are going to entropy, they're going to fall apart, things are going to go from order to disorder. And this is why some guys wake up when they're 35 years old and they go, wow, I have no friends, because they had this group of friends, maybe from high school or university, and they kept with those people, but slowly they got married, they kind of spun off, maybe they moved away for a job, and one by one, they just sort of disappear until you wake up and you look around and you're completely alone. And time ticks by, life is short. Even wasting 1 year in your 20s and 30s is 5% of your 20s and 30s. And are you going to start making dramatic changes at 40? Or would you like to be more established when you're 40? One of the things Jordan Peterson always says that really sticks with me is, what is one of the biggest mistakes that young people make is not setting themselves up well for the second half of their life. And so this is a big part of what that is that time ticks by quickly. We need to start taking action now and not continuing to spin our wheels and waste time being frustrated. So let's discuss briefly where I'm from, basically. Oh, there's actually one more thing I wanted to talk about here. The other purpose of coaching is there's sort of two things. And I spoke about the idea of accelerating learning with the example of hiring a motorcycle coach. That's very important because I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching in my life. And it's always to accelerate learning and buy back my time. This is kind of what I was alluding to with the idea that life ticks by very quickly, is that I don't have tons of time. I don't have an infinite amount of time on this earth. I want to do and spend my money appropriately and effectively so that I can buy back my time. And that's a big part of why we have coaches and why we have universities or college. Sure, you could go out and work as an engineer and slowly gain that information, or you could go to college or university and in 4 years gain all of the information that you need or that you would have got perhaps from an apprenticeship that would have taken you 8 or 10 years. So the same is true here, is that you get to buy back your time. The other thing is you want to get an ROI. You want to get a return on your investment. And the return on investment of socializing and building social networks and social circles is huge. I cannot tell you, and actually I can. I'm going to tell you in a minute, the benefits that have come to me, non-monetary and monetary benefits have come to me, are massive. So let's quickly go through a little bit of my journey, and then we're going to break down exactly how to do what we're talking about here. So I started out in a small city in Canada. That's actually not just my class, that's my entire school in the 90s. And I don't exactly see where I am. It's kind of a fuzzy photo, but I'm in there somewhere. And it was a great school. It was a good education, but it didn't teach me good social skills. And so when I went to high school, I didn't know how to be intentional with women. I didn't know how to meet new people. These are some of my girlfriends. They all thought I was gay. It's so cringe when I think about it now, because I was so afraid to say, I'm attracted to you. Do you want to go on a date? I just didn't know what to do. And so I just kind of endlessly hung around with them. And they would invite me to things every once in a while, but mostly I would just hang out with them every lunch in the cafeteria. But after school or on weekends, I had nothing to do. I was super bored. And so I spoke with my mom and dad. I said, what do I do? What do I do? I want to have better friends. And they said, why don't you go join a sport? And I thought, what do you know, mom and dad? As we all do when we're young. But I saw the sign up for Ultimate Frisbee, and so I went and joined. And unfortunately, that was the last year of grade 12, but I met a bunch of cool people there. And I met a bunch of people that I could actually hang out with. And my last year of high school was really, really fun. I had a really great time. And these 4 girls here, I was attracted to them all. I thought they were all great, but I never really had the balls to do anything about it. I remember one of them, I stayed over at her house and I was in her bed and I was like lying like this, like, be respectful, don't touch her. She might think you're, not just, here to be your friend, and then she'll think you're trying to scam on her or something. And then I don't know what I was thinking, but it makes my neck sweaty a little bit when I think about it. But when I went to university, I sort of said, okay, I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm sick of being friend zoned by all these women. I'm sick of being thought of like I was gay. I wanted to actually build a good social life. And so I took what I had learned in high school at that very last lesson, and I went out, I joined every sport, every hobby, every interest that I could find. And I started to meet people at those interests and hobbies. And then I started to create a central event, which I could bridge those people into, and that I could have people to hang out with on a Thursday night to watch TV, play board games, eat pizza, or come over and swim in the pool or whatever, or go on out trips, go on adventures. And the second part that I started to discover was that my social circle started to build itself in some ways, because my friends would start to bring their friends. And over time, I would meet the friends of friends of friends. And I started to realize the power of this, especially when I joined this, and you're going to laugh, multi-level marketing company called Primerica when I was in university. I didn't make much money there, but it was a cool company, and it taught me the power of exponential growth, where if you have, for example, 3 people, and those 3 people introduce you to 3 more people, that's 9, and then 27 and 81 people, where you didn't have to go out and cold approach or meet them on Tinder or whatever. You get to just have this warm handshake introduction that your social circle allows for you. So my container event started to grow. I started to get introduced to a lot more people. This is 3 photos from an event that I held at my house. It was like a house party in university. There's me in the middle there wearing my goofy 3D glasses. I don't know why I'm wearing these, but whatever. But the guy, for example, here wearing the blue shirt with all the writing on it, his girlfriend is the girl in the beige to his right, I guess. And the two girls behind her, she introduced us to. And then you can see on the last photo, the girl in the blue top, kind of behind the guy, she was someone who I met, but she actually had a boyfriend. And I met her and I said, well, hey, why don't you bring all your single girlfriends and I'll bring all my single guy friends and we can have parties together. We can meet together. And she went, yeah, that sounds sick. And so she was a big part of that. And actually the girl beside her, on the very edge of the picture here, that was a single girl that she brought that we got to meet, and it was great. I did the same thing again when I met another woman when I moved. I left university and I went to back to my home city near Toronto, and I met tons of people there. I did the same thing again. It worked really well. And I met a girl in the stairwell of my apartment building, and I said to her, hey, why don't you give me your number? And she said, I have a boyfriend. And I said, cool. Great girls often know great guys. Why don't you introduce me to your boyfriend? I'm having a get together on Saturday at 6 at my apartment. Why don't you come by, bring him, and bring a few of your girlfriends, and we'll introduce our friends groups. And so she said, sure, that sounds great. And so I actually became better friends with him than with her. They broke up shortly after. I never talked to her again. But he invited me to move to South Korea with him. And in South Korea, it went crazy. I taught him everything I knew. I taught a bunch of the other guys everything I knew at that point, and we all formed like this army where we went out and we just started building social circle, and it was so much fun. We have here the guy in the blue Dodgers outfit, super cool guy. He was an executive that took us out to all kinds of fun places, showed us all around Korea. He's one of my best friends. The guy, for example, here in the green, he's like an insurance company executive, again, really successful guy. The guy behind the expert only sign here on the photo on the right, that guy in the orange, he is a DJ that got us into all kinds of clubs and nightclubs. He's actually been featured now in Spotify. He has one of his songs in the Bangers playlist on Spotify, so he's doing amazingly well. And all of this here is to show you kind of what's possible. As this began to spin upwards, we began through my DJ friend Alex. We started to meet this guy in the very back there in the blue named Dan, and Dan had connections to this Matrix yacht. And so we started going on the weekends to Busan, South Korea, riding around on the yacht and meeting all of these people here, right? All of these girls here, super interesting, super fun. The girl, it's kind of hard to see her. She's at the back there in the green. She's like an international artist that does all sorts of different art installations. Really, really interesting people here. And we got to ride around this yacht, and I didn't pay for it, but we were bringing fun girls, and Dan wanted to meet some of the girls we knew and connect with us and have a good time. I also, when I moved back to Canada after South Korea, I got involved in motorcycle racing, as I mentioned before. And so here's me on the left, struggling in my first year on my old 1980s Kawasaki. But through my hobby, I met the guy on the blue bike, Mike. And Mike owns a big HVAC company, and he has a bunch of guys, a bunch of trucks. He does really well for himself. He's quite wealthy. And I got to go with him on all over Canada motorcycle racing, stay with him in his motorhome, go to his garage where we would work on my bike. And he helped me pick out this replacement bike, this Ninja 400, and convert it more and more into a track bike. And when I crashed it, he helped me rebuild it. And he came to my house to parties that we had, and I met his friends. And his friend Joel, for example, who's a real estate investor, we rode around in his Audi R8, or, connecting him with other people because he wanted to buy more cars. It's just all of this crazy adventure happens when you start to meet more people. Okay. We get to go on adventures to different countries. Here's me in the Philippines because the girl behind me there, Maggie, she worked with a dive company and introduced us through to a dive company in the Philippines, in Boracay, and out on a dive boat for a week. I met another guy who said, let's go to China, and we went hiking. This is Xi'an province, I think it's called, or Xi'an is the city maybe. And this is Mount Huashan on the plank walk. This is like the photo of a lifetime. I love it. It's so fun. And none of this would be possible without meeting the people that I needed to meet. And this photo here is sort of like a bit of my tribe that I've been building for quite a few years. These guys, all of them are interesting. I'm not going to go into all of them right now, but The guy to my right, for example, Jeremy, he's a housing developer who's been featured in the news in Canada for his interesting style of building houses. The next guy, Jake, he's a game developer. He's got a game on Steam right now that's been doing really well. Joel is a mortgage agent, and he does really well with all of his rental properties. We've got Andrew, who's an executive lead developer for another software company. Joel's ex-military. Aaron owns a landscaping company. When you have this kind of energy around you all the time, you can't help but be more inspired for life. You start to raise your expectations. You're like, shit, all my friends are entrepreneurs and interesting people doing crazy stuff. What can I do? What can I do? And when I, for example, want to shoot this video, I have Mike's friend that he introduced me to, Mackenzie, and I can call him and I can say, Mackenzie, you're a videographer for a car magazine, an online car magazine. How do I set up my video camera? I didn't set this up. I didn't do any of this. This is all Mackenzie showing me exactly what to do and how to do it. And it goes to a much higher level. And so I'm not saying like, oh, try to get free shit from your friends, but there is value to having friends that have expertise. This is a photo here of, I moved to Russia. I'm actually, as of recording this video, I'm in Russia right now. And this photo here was taken 45 days after I arrived in Russia, maybe 50 days. All of the people in this photo were met through connections, through friends of friends. I met maybe 4 people in this photograph, and they all introduced me to all of these fun people. And it was such an amazing opportunity to meet business owners, ballet dancers, models, nightclub promoters, ex-police officers, current police officers, woman who owns a teaching company. It's just all of these walks of life and all of these interesting things. And now when I was young, I didn't get phone calls. People didn't call me up and say, hey, Malcolm, you want to hang out? Because I didn't have friends. And now I've built a system and I've built a life that I can move to any city in the world and within 50 days have this. It's insane. It's absolutely insane once you know what to do, the results that you can get. When I go out, this is a photo of us, we're heading out to a nightclub. I met one of the owners of one nightclub, and he introduced me to the owner of another nightclub, and they got us a VIP for that night. And it was just such an amazing time to head out. And I love this photo. It's just, it's so chill. We almost get laughed at where we're like, guys will get like, you know, kind of like, I don't know, threatened or something, where they're like, yo, do you ever hang out with other guys? Well, the answer is yes, but only the best guys. And I love women. I love hanging out with women. So I have a lot of female friends. And I love being around beauty. I love being around excellence. I love being around people who are inspiring and inspired. This is a group of 3 of my closest friends. This is in Canada before I left for Russia. And all 3 of them said, like, we're going to miss you. Amazing friendship. We hope to see you again soon. And I'm going to see them again soon. And it's just such a powerful feeling. I don't know how to describe it, but when you have people that say to you, we're so happy that we met you. We enjoy your friendship because I've done the work, and my clients have done the work again to try to become the best versions of themselves. So I don't share all of this with you to like brag or something like this. I share all of this with you to say, this is what's possible. This is possible for you. This is a progression that's taken me years and years and years. Like I'm 20 in this photo. I'm 31 in this photo. So 11 years of work to do this, right? To be able to have this skill set. But what I have designed is a system, is a blueprint, and we're going to discuss it actually specifically here in a moment, that allows you to do this in a very short period of time. So why do I do this? Well, I've become very, very passionate about teaching other people these social skills because I was so frustrated when I was young. And so there's sort of 8 commandments that I've started to design for myself, at least, and I like to share them with you. I got a huge charge out of discovering something that's a bit unknown and teaching it to other people. That's just my personality. I like to go on YouTube and watch videos about, I don't know, how washing machines work, and then I'll excitedly tell other people about how washing machines work. I like to learn something and then teach it to others. And so I get a big charge out of a community of guys, of people that are working together to build better social lives, to connect with others, and to learn. So there's sort of these 8 commandments that I think is like the new system of socializing. So the first one is that we are collaborative instead of competitive. We seek to join with other people, not compete against them. We don't need to impress others ever. We also give first with no expectation of returns. We are investors into the relationships with other people. We focus on systematic improvement of life over a longer period of time. When you look at success and the success that people have, it's never, oh, I worked really hard for 45 minutes and then I had great success. No, it's systematic improvement of systems that slowly elevate your life to a higher level over a longer period of time. 1% every day. Using social media for the heavy lifting of your social life, creating a personal brand is very, very valuable and very important. Building a gang of people that works together to elevate everyone's lives. Building private member clubs. This is what I'm trying to do in my own life, is find the best people in my city and say, how can we help each other? How can I introduce each of you to better people? How can I come along for the elevation that this represents? How can I give? How can I receive? Indirect conversational openers as well to find connection, not direct approach. Game is dead. If not, it's dying. And so using these direct approach, like, hey, I saw you across the street. I wanted to walk across and tell you that you're beautiful, or something like this, does not work in 2022. It's such a narrow piece of the puzzle. It's such a narrow piece of what you can get access to. As I spoke before, seeing how can I mesh with your life? How can we create win-win situations? And if a woman says, I have a boyfriend, that's not a rejection. That's an opportunity. Good girls often know good guys. This is the sort of mindset that we need to develop. We also create events and happenings, which are like gravity wells for people. We don't go on one-on-one dates. We create events, we create scenarios which are interesting to be in, and we allow everyone to come in. It's much more efficient with our time, and it's much more collaborative. The last thing is that a pile of fiat currency is not the only or even the primary determination of wealth or value. I think the more that we chase material wealth in life, the more that we're attached to our money, like, then the more we just sort of stay in our comfort zone. We stay in this little box. We never really branch out. And for me, for example, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching over my life, and it's made an incredible benefit where I've been able to turn fiat currency, which honestly is not that valuable, it just sits in a pile under your bed, into expanded skills, expanded understanding, and greater results in life. So there's a couple reasons why you may have not got results before. One other thing I also wanted to talk about here briefly, and again, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, and I considered dropping this out, but I think it's worth mentioning. I don't see the world in the future going in a particularly positive direction for people that don't have good social circles and good social network skills. The world is becoming more and more hostile to social connection. We saw this with all of the lockdowns and all of the different behaviors from our governments. Regardless of your beliefs about it, it is a fact that it became very difficult to socialize with people. And in the future, I think that it is going to get more and more difficult for people that don't have strong networks of people around them and are still relying on the established institutions to provide for them. So that's all I'm going to say there, but I think that this is something that's very important for our futures. So why did I fail before? Why did you fail before? It's a good question. There's a couple reasons why you may not have got the results that you wanted from a coaching or training program in the past. So first of all, the old system you were using was out of date. And this is, again, I'm not trying to make enemies here, but I am trying to make enemies here. You know what? The game is dead. Game, slick moves, the mystery method, all of this stuff, if you've heard of it, is dead. These styles of communication are inauthentic and they simply don't work. A lot of companies out there have racked up testimonials because they had a system that worked for a while, but it simply doesn't work anymore. And so you need to make sure that you are using something that is getting results now, not 10 years ago. And this is why I'm showing you photos from 2 months ago of me in Russia and how I've been able to build a social circle now. The support you received wasn't enough, or it was not directly for you. This is where having me, for example, directly working with you is so valuable. You can download the 6 DVD set on flipping houses, but if you don't actually have access to the mind of the guy who did the house flipping, it's not going to be as customized for your situation. And so we have access to me, and we'll discuss kind of what that looks like. You also have our Telegram group. You also have group calls where you can make sure that you are getting customized solutions for the challenges that you have in your social life. The last reason you may not have got results is because you simply didn't do the work. And there's nothing I can do for you there. There is some accountability that sometimes is required to make sure that you keep moving and that you get the results that you're looking for. But if you're not willing to do the work, you're simply not going to get the results. And if you're the type of person that's hoping for magic pills or magic words, this is not the place for you. So let's do some training. Let's dig into this. Let's break exactly down how to do this. Let's do some training. Let's figure out how to build this out, how to build a social circle step by step. So we're going to talk about some of the main myths that are so pervasive in our world around the foundations and conversations that you need to have in order to connect with better people and build a social life. We're also going to discuss container event construction, some of the common myths around that, and we're going to break down how it works and why. Then we're going to give you some next steps. So, foundations and conversations. The biggest myth that I hear is that I need to study game. I need to study the red pill. I need to dig deep into verbal game. I don't really think that verbal game is all that important. I think that the layering on of more and more bullshit on top of us is a big problem. And instead, I think that we actually need to be stripping away, because the natural person that you are underneath is actually quite social for I would say almost everybody. Humans are fundamentally social creatures, and you need to strip away, not add more stuff on. We need to become the most authentic, most genuine versions of ourselves. People also say to me sometimes, things are going well enough. Well, to that I say, you need to dream a bit bigger. We also talk about how people are evil or scary, and we're sort of afraid of connecting with other people. But we discuss this in more depth in the course. But the idea here is that you get from the world what you put out. So if you're walking around the world saying people are evil and scary and they're out to get me, you're going to find that that is what you get back from people. But if you, like me or like my clients, walk around the world saying people are friendly, people care, they want to meet new people, they want to connect with me, then that's what you're going to find as well. Another common myth that I hear is that people are fundamentally introverted and that they have some sort of different biology or different psychology that makes them unable to connect with other people. I'm socially awkward is how we sometimes hear this. But really all that means is that you were never given a guide to socializing and you've never tried to learn it. And so why would you expect yourself to be good at socializing? Yes, there are some introverted people out there, absolutely. But being introverted is just another form of socializing. It doesn't mean that you can't socialize. Introverts are often excellent listeners, and they're very good and supportive of their friends. It doesn't mean that they can't socialize, okay? So find a better system, find a better way of being, and the socially awkward behavior will evaporate. So what is Foundations and Conversations? Well, in the program, what we do, the very first thing we do is we work on creating your partner and friends maps, okay? We also work on creating your lifestyle map. What do you want your lifestyle to look like? If you don't set a target that you're heading towards, then you're not going to move anywhere. You need to pick a target and head towards it. And even if it's the wrong target, at least you're moving forward. You're not just sitting there going, I need to think about this more. This is, again, this sort of loser mindset that gets us stuck in the same position that we always are. We also then work on ripping out the childhood programming of what your mom or dad or teachers told you was appropriate for Johnny, and the identities that other people put on you at a young age. We also try to remove as much as possible the nice guy tendencies that keep us handcuffed to the approval of others. We want to be as authentic and real and genuine as we possibly can with other people. The next thing we do is we perfect your personal style. We make sure that you are feeling confident with the clothes that you're wearing, and we use the capsule wardrobe to do that. We use Grandma Game to have engaging conversations. How do you have a conversation with somebody that leaves them saying, I hope that we get to chat again in the future? Well, Grandma Game is how we do that. We do that with indirect conversations, which are centered around talking about and to the other person. Everyone's favorite thing to talk about is themselves. And so very rarely will someone come to us and say, tell me about yourself. What are you excited about for the future? What are you proud of in your past? And to dig into this other person in a deeper way. If you're having small talk in life, that's probably your fault. It's very easy to go from small talk to deeper conversations with people. And most people hate small talk. They just don't know how to get out of it. So that's sort of the foundations and conversations. And that's an important one to do because we want you to become the best version of yourself who's confidently able to meet new people. Then the next thing we do is we start to connect you with better people in better places, and then how to build a container event where those people can be bridged into your life. So some common myths around this one. First of all, socializing can't help my net worth. I don't have time. I hear this from like the monk mode hustle culture guys, where they say things like, well, socializing can't help my net worth. The ROI of building a social circle is insane. It's priceless. All of, again, the best results for the biggest companies in the world have come because of social skills. This video, again, you're watching, this course that I designed, I had a mentor who helped me design the program of Elevate Social Circle. He started a company in the 90s called Eagles Flight, which you can Google. It works with the Fortune 500. It's a massive Canadian company. And they were a bunch of guys that loved board games. And they got together and they said, how can we use the teaching tool of board games to teach leadership skills to the Fortune 500? And they do that with many different companies. I think they've worked with 85 or 80 or 85% of the Fortune 500 have hosted Eagles Flight and had their leadership teams and their executive teams work with that company. And so again, that was something which happened first of all because they had a good social circle. And then I was able to have assistance in building of my program because, again, I had social circle. I knew these people. So socializing absolutely helps your net worth. I would say almost better than anything else. Again, it's not what you know, it's who you know. The other myth is that looks or money are the way to hot dates. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Looks and money help. Absolutely. But for most guys, the way they use looks and money are a crutch. I've got guys that I've worked with when they came into the program, they were very good looking. One guy in particular comes to mind. He had model looks, but he did not have the personality to back it up. And so people would want to get to know him, but they wouldn't stick around. And he was able to create introductions, but he had a long string of failed relationships and he felt very alone. Money, again, to go back to some of the cases before like Ross or Omgod, money are good. They can help with logistics for sure. But money can also turn into a crutch where you're just buying friends and it can lead to a lot of insecurity. So you want to start to build something which is greater than just looks and money that can be a social life for you. I just want to get a girlfriend, bro. I don't need all this. I don't need all this program. I don't need all this information. I just need to find one girl that I can make my wife. You can't find one girl. You need to be a guy that is attractive to women in general. Then you need to have as well options so that you can pick the right woman who is right for you. If you're saying, I just want to get a girlfriend, well, I can go find some drug addicted homeless person on the street that'll happily be your girlfriend. But again, you want to have the best. We don't want you settling. We want you to have the best. And so you need to become a man that is attractive and has options. He has a group of female friends. That's very important. The last one is that dating apps are a necessary evil. I'm a huge dating app disrespecter. I think that dating apps are generally a waste of time. They're 10 to 1 guys to girls. The girls that are on there are not high value, high caliber women. They are women with no other options. Do you think that a woman that is out meeting lots of interesting people or contributing to the world in some way, she's volunteering, she's meeting lots of people through her social life, is spending her time on a dating app? Simply no, she's not. So let's break down quickly the container event construction. We need to, first of all, meet better people. Then we build the social snowball with recurring events. Then we use the magic phrase, bring your friends, and we combine all of our friends groups together. We use social media and Instagram to create the fear of missing out so that you're not having to actively chase people around, but that they are more magnetically coming towards you because they're seeing the fun things you're doing through your social media. We're also going to learn, what do high value men and women want? When you meet a high value man, how should you behave around him? What should you be doing or thinking, or should you be giving something? What do you need to do? What do these people want? And the same for women. What do women want? What do they want from the men in their lives? And how can you create relationships with very attractive, low drama, super good personality women? And then the fifth thing we discussed as part of container event construction is logistics and value arbitrage, how to value arbitrage your way into high value opportunities. And this is where I'm not going to be able to do businesses with every person I meet, but For example, with the yacht story in Korea, I was able to ride around on that yacht because Dan wanted to meet attractive girls. I had some Korean friends that I could introduce him to, some single girls. And so the girls wanted to go on the yacht. And so there's this whole value exchange that begins to happen where I get to come along and derive value from that by creating value for everyone else. Okay? So that kind of covers the big part of it here. It's a lot easier to create a social life with container events when you are saying, we're already doing something. I'm going to be going on these fun adventures, and you're saying to new people, would you like to come along with me? Would you like to join in on this adventure of life? And for high value people, they're absolutely going to say yes. Leading to the solid logistics. Logistics are so important. The setup of how you set up your life is very important, and we equip you with all of that knowledge. So that's it. That's all I've got for you today. You should have a call scheduled with me coming up. I want to prepare you for your call. Double check your call booking time. Make sure that the event is in your calendar. Set an alarm or reminder for this event. Show up on time. It really bothers me when people don't show up or don't answer the phone. It happens every once in a while, but this is why I've cut down on that. It's because I'm reminding people your slot could be used by someone else, could be used for some other thing. So make sure that you show up on time. Make sure you show up in a quiet place. Take this seriously. There's a lot of good information that we're going to discuss on your call, and we want you to show up ready to take your lifestyle to an elite level. I'm excited for you. I hope this information was helpful and gives you a good understanding of what I'm doing over here at Elevate Social Circle. Just remember, if you want to have things that you've never had before, you need to do things that you've never done before. I look forward to speaking with you, and I'll see you on the call.